the fundamental characters of the history of the world is BIMA. BIMA is a puppet, and in this video we are going to explore why BIMA changed the world. BIMA is a puppet, but before being a puppet, BIMA is present in an Hindu epic that is Mahabharata. But then BIMA arrives in Indonesia and here takes the life of a puppet, of a shadow puppet, because one of the fundamental elements in the culture of Indonesia is the theater of puppets, specifically of shadow puppets. And specifically, originally the name is wayang kulit, and that means skin puppets. Now, skin puppets are realized thanks to buffalo hide. Specifically, buffalo hide gets scraped and stretched, it becomes translucent and gives life to these puppets. Now, BIMA, contrary to other puppets, as a very representative and sort of unique figure, because he has a long nose, is pretty much dark, though he has some gilded sort of decoration and embroidered clothing. But BIMA is so fundamental in the culture in Indonesia, to the point that even a former president of Indonesia identified with BIMA, with this way of talking that is pretty much down to earth and contrary to any form of elitism, and says the truth as it sees it. So why BIMA is so important and why BIMA has changed history? Well, we have to go back to 500 years ago. Basically, we have to go back to 1550 to 1700, and we have to go back to the island of Java. Island of Java, which belongs to Indonesia. Now, this is the point in time where Hindu traditions and cultures are sort of transported into Indonesia. They arrive, of course, through maritime trades. So, of course, the Muslim Indonesians get acquainted with Hindu tradition, and they pick elements out of that Hindu tradition. And so they pick also the theater of puppets, because there are theater of puppets in typically Buddhist traditions. But the Muslim puppeteers know very well that they cannot reproduce Indo stuff into the Muslim culture. So they pick those elements and they modify it. They adjust it to the culture. For instance, the reason why BIMA has claws is because, you know, in that way, BIMA would not be a representation of God, which is contradicting and denying the Islamic prohibition of creating images of gods. And so they create BIMA. What BIMA does, and why BIMA is so important, what BIMA does is really integrating different cultures, specifically the Hindu tradition with the Muslim tradition, in a way that the two traditions actually coexist till this day. So when we see Indonesia as a model of integration, and we wonder why, it's because, first of all, there have been elements, cultural elements, that have aimed at integrating differences rather than highlighting, separating, or exploit politically those differences. And that's why they have achieved such like a good combination, integration within the population.